In the shadows of her elite Ridgewood dormitory room, Elara Kane jolted awake from a nightmare that clung to her like rotor wash from a crashing Black Hawk. Cold sweat drenched her back, her thin tank top riding up just enough to reveal the intricate black eagle tattoo etched across her shoulder blades, a fierce symbol of soaring strength or a haunting curse from battles long buried. At 26, with her African-American skin glowing faintly under the moonlight filtering through the blinds, Elara thought she'd finally escaped the bloody echoes of her military past. But then her phone buzzed with an encrypted call, the voice on the other end a ghostly whisper. "Eagle, the storm is coming. Don't hide anymore." She silenced it quickly, her heart pounding like the thump of incoming helicopters. No, she told herself, that life is over. With a faded hoodie pulled over her curves, worn sneakers that had logged countless miles on forgotten runways, and a simple notebook clutched in her hands, Elara stepped into the gleaming crisis management lecture hall. This was supposed to be her fresh start at elite Ridgewood University, a fictional Ivy League bastion where the children of senators, CEOs, and power brokers polished their resumes like family heirlooms. But as she slipped into a back row seat, the whispers started. Dark skin, scholarship kid, she doesn't belong here. In 72 hours, Blackhawks would descend on this pristine campus with her call sign Eagle emblazoned on their sides, shattering every prejudice like glass under the furious downwash of spinning rotors. Elite Ridgewood sprawled across 600 acres of manicured lawns and ivy-draped stone buildings that screamed old money and older privileges. The crisis management program, housed in a state-of-the-art glass tower funded by a tech mogul's whim, attracted the elite's offspring, kids who summered in the Hamptons and interned at Fortune 500 firms before they could legally drink. Elara, with her unassuming style and quiet demeanor, stuck out like a glitch in their perfectly curated world. At 26, she was older than most, her African-American features drawing sidelong glances that mixed curiosity with condescension. She hid her elite skills as a Black Hawk pilot in the Special Operations Aviation Regiment, SOAR, night insertions under enemy fire, electronic warfare hacks to jam radar signals behind a facade of normalcy. 4 years ago, she'd walked away from it all, haunted by a short, visceral flashback. The roar of her helo in Afghanistan, teammates screaming as superiors dismissed her warnings due to racism and sexism, branding her a token black female pilot unfit for command. The mission ended in flames, lives lost, and Elara's soul scarred. Now she just wanted to blend in, to study without the weight of command decisions that measured success in lives saved or lost. The multi-layered conflict hit her from all sides. Externally, it came from Marcus Hale, the arrogant white male heir to a senator's legacy, who leaned back in his ergonomic chair with a smirk, scholarship kid from the hood, fit for janitor duty, not crisis leadership. His entourage, polished preppies with designer backpacks and the latest gadgets, chuckled, their whispers orbiting him like satellites. Within the group, classmates mocked her appearance, her faded jeans and lack of branded accessories, as if worth was woven into fabric labels. Internally, Elara wrestled with the storm inside. "I'm not Eagle anymore. Don't let their prejudice defeat you." But she silently observed, cataloging details like a tactical assessment in hostile territory, her eyes scanning exits and body language with the precision of a pilot reading radar pings. Therefore, she created an aura of mystery. The audience might think she's weak, vulnerable to their barbs, but what hidden strength lurks beneath? The mini-climax struck during a break, when Marcus sauntered over with a care package, a thrift store shirt bundled in a box, note attached, "Back to the streets," from a concerned classmate. The room hushed, phones subtly angled to capture her reaction, expecting tears or fury. Elara's hands trembled slightly as she unwrapped it, the humiliation burning like enemy fire. In the restroom afterward, she shrugged off her hoodie to change, the mirror catching a glimpse of her eagle tattoo spreading its wings across her back. A pattern interrupt that zoomed in on the intricate lines, a red herring making one think it was just a personal family memento from her grandfather's stories, not a badge of battlefield glory. This moment introduced the education and inspiration woven into her core. Military discipline shaped her. Situational awareness, where Elara catalogs details like a pilot scanning radar, life skills to overcome pressure, turning observation into survival. For inspiration, she pulled out a worn letter from her mother, a former military nurse who'd lost her husband to war scars. "You are an eagle from your grandfather's Tuskegee heritage. Fly high despite headwinds, my girl. Those red tails overcame segregation. You can rise above this." The Tuskegee Airmen, black pilots who shattered barriers in WWI2, were her lineage, a quiet fire igniting resilience against the daily grind of doubt. She endured the mockery, but the tattoo reminded her of her heroic past. Therefore, she remained silent, but for how long? The whispers grew, the assumptions festered, yet Elara's quiet confidence hinted at depths unseen, a storm brewing beneath the surface. But when the humiliating care package arrives, will Elara stay calm? Stay tuned to see the first crack in her armor. You won't believe what happens next. The crisp autumn air of elite Ridgewood University shattered like fragile ice under the piercing wail of the emergency sirens. It was a sound Elara Kane knew all too well, not from textbooks or simulations, but from the bone-rattling alerts of combat zones where hesitation meant death. Students poured out of dorms and lecture halls in a chaotic flood, their designer coats flapping like flags of privilege, faces twisted in confusion and fear. Whispers turned to shouts, chemical leak from the industrial park, winds carrying it this way. The campus, once a serene enclave of power and pedigree, descended into pandemonium, with RAs barking contradictory orders and security fumbling with outdated protocols. Elara, still reeling from the morning's humiliations, froze for a split second in the quad. She noticed the unusual signs immediately, cell signals flickering erratically like jamming interference from her SOAR days, and campus Wi-Fi dropping in waves that screamed electronic sabotage. This wasn't just a local accident, it felt engineered, a hidden twist, misdirecting everyone into thinking it was a simple spill. Chaos spread like wildfire, students clustering in panic, but Elara's trained eye cut through it. Rapid assessment like a Black Hawk pilot. Observe threats, allocate resources, turn disorder into actionable intel. It was a life skill forged in unexpected crises, where one glitch could down a helo mid-mission. The conflict ignited as the crowd funneled toward the gymnasium shelter. Marcus Hale, ever the self-appointed kingpin, spotted Elara and sneered, his voice cutting through the din like a poorly aimed shot. "Black girl thinks she can lead? We'll all fail under her, probably end up poisoned while she plays hero from the hood." His entourage echoed the mockery, their racism and sexism laid bare in the crisis glare, creating an outrage that boiled in the air. Audience hearts pounding with anger at the blatant dismissal of her worth based on skin and gender. But Elara sensed the call to action thrumming in her veins, the eagle tattoo itching under her hoodie like a dormant command. Therefore, she hesitated to engage, her mind flashing to the ghosts of Afghanistan, where stepping up had cost everything. The mini-climax struck in the shelter's doorway. Her phone buzzed with an encrypted message from Eagle Command, a red herring she dismissed as family spam, perhaps her mother's worried check-in, but actually a prelude from General Brooks. The crisis erupts, but Elara sees a cyber anomaly. Therefore, she hesitates. Coincidence or the past returning? What if this crisis is more than it seems? Keep watching to uncover the hidden threat. Elara's refusal will shock you. As the gymnasium doors slammed shut behind the last stragglers, sealing in the acrid scent of fear and recycled air, Elara Kane felt the weight of the call to adventure pressing down like the G-forces of a spiraling Black Hawk. The shelter was a cavernous echo chamber of chaos, students hyperventilating, faculty fumbling with outdated manuals, and the flickering lights hinting at deeper system failures that screamed cyber intrusion to her trained instincts. "We need someone to take charge," a professor barked, his voice cracking under the strain. Eyes turned to Elara, who had already begun mentally mapping the space. Triage zones for the vulnerable, comms hubs for updates, supply lines for water and meds. But she refused the call outright, stepping back into the shadows. "Not me," she muttered, her voice steady but laced with finality. "Find someone else." Deep down, the refusal wasn't born of cowardice, but from a wound that refused to scar over. A deep flashback pulling her under like a rotor blade slicing through turbulence. In the blistering heat of Afghanistan, her Black Hawk thundered through hostile skies on a high-stakes extraction under relentless enemy fire. "Eagle, pull out. Too risky." Her superiors had radioed, doubting her split-second judgment because of ingrained racism. Token pilot can't handle the pressure, she's just diversity quota. Teammates screamed as anti-aircraft rounds shredded the helo's tail, the cockpit filling with smoke and the metallic tang of blood. Lives lost in the crash, not from the enemy, but from the superior's hesitation rooted in sexism and prejudice against her as a black woman in command. Elara had barely ejected, the eagle tattoo on her back burning like a brand as she hit the sand. "I swear I won't save anyone anymore," she'd vowed in the aftermath, resigning her commission and vanishing into civilian life. Now, on this campus-turned war zone, she almost bolted for the exit, backpack slung over her shoulder, ready to leave them to their fate. The conflict erupted publicly when Marcus Hale shoved forward, his face twisted in entitlement. "Huh? The scholarship girl? She'll get us all killed, probably turn this into another hood disaster." His words ignited outrage, the crowd murmuring in division, his racism and sexism fueling disruption as allies like Dr. Torres tried to intervene. Elara's fists clenched, stress coiling like a spring. In the heat of the moment, her hoodie slipped, nearly revealing the eagle tattoo in full, its wings seeming to flex with her tension, increasing the mystery. Was this ink just a personal relic, or something tied to a military past? Yet, education and inspiration flickered through the trauma, like Tuskegee Airmen overcoming segregation, those black pilots who defied prejudice to soar in World War II, proving resilience against impossible odds. Flashback tragedy, but campus panic. Therefore, she nearly gives up. But what about her grandfather's memory, one of those hidden heroes? Will Elara overcome her trauma? Don't scroll away. The turning point is coming, and it'll inspire you. In the dim glow of the gymnasium's emergency lights where shadows danced like ghosts from forgotten missions, Elara Kane stood frozen amid the swelling panic. Her refusal echoed in her mind, a barrier against the pull of leadership. But fate had other plans. Dr. Lena Torres, the Hispanic professor with a scar across her cheek from her own days in military intel, spotted Elara's subtle scans of the room, eyes flicking to exits, assessing vulnerabilities like a pro. "You've got the look," Torres said, pulling her aside amid the clamor. "The one that says you've seen real fire, not just case studies." Torres shared her personal prejudice story. As a Latina in a male-dominated unit, she'd been sidelined during a cyber-op in Central America, her warnings dismissed as over-emotional hysteria, leading to a botched mission and lost allies. "I rose above it," Torres confided, "by proving them wrong every damn time." Elara hesitated, the weight of her past crushing her resolve. "I can't risk it again." But Torres's encouragement chipped at the wall. Then, her phone lit up with a secure video call from General Harlan Brooks, a black veteran whose stern face filled the screen like a command post hologram. "Eagle," he boomed, his voice cutting through the static. "Your grandfather's Tuskegee heritage will save you, like how I overcame Y2 racism in the skies. Those red tails flew through hell, now it's your turn to soar." The allies' words clashed with her inner turmoil, urging her forward despite the lurking enemies in the crowd, like Marcus plotting in the corner. This moment offered education in night vision Black Hawk tactics. See through darkness like overcoming prejudice, life skills for focus under fire, turning blind spots into advantages. Torres shares story, but Brooks' video encourages. Therefore, Elara begins to change, but enemies lurk, ready to strike. How does this mentorship unlock her power? Watch on for the revelation. Elara's step into action will thrill you. The gymnasium's heavy doors groaned shut, locking in the frantic energy of hundreds of students and faculty, their faces etched with the raw fear of uncertainty. Elara Kane, her eagle tattoo now a hidden pulse beneath her hoodie, felt the shift in her core. The mentorship from Dr. Torres and General Brooks igniting a spark she couldn't ignore. "Fine," she said, her voice cutting through the din like a command frequency. "I'll lead, but we do this my way." She crossed the threshold into action, transforming the chaotic shelter into a military op with the precision of a SOAR mission. Zones snapped into place. Medical triage in the corner for the vulnerable, comms hub by the bleachers for updates, supply distribution along the walls like a fortified line. Positive pressure ventilation against chemicals, she explained to a cluster of wide-eyed volunteers, like sealing a Black Hawk in hazmat mode. Keep the air flowing inward to block contaminants. Her hands moved with iron discipline, directing bodies and resources as if plotting a night insertion under fire. Conflict erupted almost immediately. Marcus Hale, his face flushed with entitlement, shoved through the crowd. Her? Leading us? This black chick from who knows where will get us all killed. Probably turn this into a riot. His words dripped with sexism and racism, sparking outrage as allies like Taurus pushed back, but his disruption rippled. Whispers turned to arguments, a few students refusing orders, the fragile order teetering on collapse. Elara's jaw tightened, the prejudice hitting like enemy flak, but she held firm, her tactical mind overriding the sting. The mini-climax hit like a sudden downdraft. A young student, Tyler, clutched his chest in the triage zone, his asthma attack turning his lips blue amid the chemical haze. Inhaler, now, Elara barked, dropping to her knees like a field medic in the field. She assessed rapidly, pulse racing, breaths shallow, directing a volunteer to fetch epinephrine from a nearby kit while coaching Tyler. Breathe with me, in through the nose, out slow, like stabilizing a helo in turbulence. Her hands steady as rotor blades, she administered the dose, his color returning in gasps. Satisfaction surged through the room. She did it. Cheers erupted, a small victory cementing her command. Zone allocation like a soar-up, life skills for managing chaos, turning panic into purpose. She leads successfully, but Marcus betrays, his glare hinting at sabotage. Therefore, the hidden hack reveals gradually, glitches worsening. The asthma crisis explodes, she saves the day, but a bigger threat looms. Stay tuned for the escalating tests. With the gymnasium now a humming command center under her reluctant guidance, Elara Kane dove headfirst into the escalating tests that would forge her path, or break it. The air thickened with tension, the chemical haze outside pressing against the sealed doors like an invisible enemy at the gates. First came the supply shortage. Water rations dwindling faster than expected, panicked students hoarding bottles as if this were a siege. Elara allocated like Black Hawk logistics in a hot LZ, prioritizing the elderly faculty and those with medical needs, rerouting volunteers to inventory and distribute with military efficiency. Think of it as a helo drop, she instructed a wide-eyed group, her voice calm amid the grumbles. Load the essentials first, secure the perimeter, every drop counts. Allies began to emerge. Dr. Taurus rallied a few changing classmates, like Sarah, the pre-med student, who nodded in growing respect, seeing Elara's quiet authority as a beacon. But enemies lurked in the shadows. Marcus Hale, seething at her rise, leaked info on social media under Shadow Eagle, posting sneering clips. Campus hero or hood hoax? Watch her fail live. The posts went viral in the university's private networks, mocking her dark skin and scholarship swagger, fueling whispers that eroded morale. The multi-layered conflict deepened with each passing hour. Externally, the hack intensified. Power flickers and sensor malfunctions that Elara recognized as more than technical errors, a red herring masking sophisticated interference, perhaps from a foreign actor probing for weaknesses. Within the group, Marcus accused her outright as fake leader, his voice booming during a supply line scuffle. She's turning this into a ghetto standoff. Get a real commander. The sexism and racism sparked outrage, allies pushing back, but disruption rippling as factions formed. Internally, Elara battled a gnawing flashback to teammate betrayal. In Afghanistan, a comrade she trusted turning intel over to insurgents, his prejudice whispering can't rely on her kind, leading to the crash that scarred her soul. The memory clawed at her, urging retreat. The tests ramped up with comms failure, radios crackling into silence, cell signals jammed like enemy countermeasures. Elara fixed it with electronic warfare prowess honed in SOAR ops, repurposing a laptop to counter the interference, her fingers flying across keys like plotting a radar evade. Jamming signals like countering enemy radar, she explained to her growing team, turning the moment educational. Isolate the frequency, disrupt the source, life skills for protecting privacy in the digital age, where threats hide in the code. Inspiration wove through, overcome like Tuskegee, she murmured to herself, drawing from those black pilots who hack systemic barriers to claim the skies. Supply fixed, but leak spreads. Therefore allies grow, but real hack from Russia? The question hung, tension coiling. Is Marcus the real enemy? Keep watching, the cyber twist will shock you. As hours ticked by, the cyber glitch revealed itself in full fury. monitors glitching with phantom alerts of breach, panic surging like a flash flood. Elara's mini-climax unfolded in the comms hub. She hacked back temporarily, tracing the anomaly to an offshore IP, her screen glowing with lines of code that screamed state-sponsored intrusion. Skill satisfaction rippled through the room as comms stabilized, cheers erupting. She nailed it! Allies solidified, Torres clapping her shoulder, classmates like Sarah stepping up as deputies. But Marcus's betrayal deepened, his Shadow Eagle feed now live-streaming distorted clips, twisting her commands into chaotic rants, drawing external scrutiny that amplified the internal fractures. The external hack pulsed stronger, a red herring no more. Elara sensed the Russian fingerprints, misdirecting the chemical scare to mask a larger play on the diplomatic convoy. Internally, the teammate betrayal flashback hit harder. "Trust no one," the ghost whispered, but she pushed through, inspired by Tuskegee's unyielding flight. The glitch reveals all. Don't miss how Elara turns the tide. The gymnasium's emergency lights flickered like failing stars, casting erratic shadows that mirrored the unraveling order within. Elara Kane stood at the epicenter, her makeshift command hub a fragile bulwark against the storm. Hours into the lockdown, the full hack unleashed its fury, a cascade of false alarms blaring through the speakers. Containment breach imminent. Evacuate now. It was a fake, a digital phantom engineered to sow panic, but the crowd didn't know that. Screams erupted as students surged toward the doors, trampling supplies and knocking over triage barriers. Elara's pulse raced. She recognized the sophistication. Russian-style cyber infiltration, probing weaknesses like a predator testing a fence. The external threat had escalated, no longer a red herring of technical glitches, but a deliberate assault, perhaps tied to the diplomatic convoy whispers she'd overheard on scrambled channels. Chaos reigned. Fists flew in scuffles over dwindling rations. A professor collapsed from stress, and the air grew thick with the metallic tang of fierce sweat. Deep in the maelstrom, a flashback pulled Elara under, deeper than before. The Black Hawk crash in Afghanistan, replaying in vivid, gut-wrenching detail. Her helo thundered through a dust-choked valley, rotors slicing the night as enemy fire lit the sky like deadly fireworks. "Eagle, hold position. Extract the team," she'd commanded. But the internal spy, a teammate she'd trusted like a brother, had fed cords to the insurgents. She thought him a friend, his casual barbs about her token status dismissed as banter, but his betrayal, rooted in racism that whispered, "Black women don't belong in the cockpit," doomed them. The missile struck, flames engulfing the cabin, teammates' screams echoing as the bird spun out. Elara ejected last, slamming into the sand with broken ribs and a soul in tatters. "Why me?" The ghost memory taunted now, amplifying her doubt amid the campus panic. The conflict peaked when Marcus Hale stormed the hub, his face a mask of venomous privilege. "Black girl out of her depth," he bellowed, pointing accusingly as allies like Torres tried to intervene. "She's faking it all, gonna get us killed like some hood experiment gone wrong." The racism and sexism hit like a gut punch, sparking peak outrage. The room divided, whispers turning to shouts, the audience's blood boiling at the blatant erasure of her competence based on skin and gender. Disruption exploded. A faction rallied behind him, refusing orders, supplies scattered in the melee. Elara nearly fell then, knees buckling under the weight, her vision blurring with exhaustion and old wounds. But in that abyss, her eagle tattoo seemed to glow. A pattern interrupt, visuals of its inked wings pulsing like a beacon under her sweat-soaked hoodie. It reminded her of Tuskegee, those black airmen defying segregation to claim the skies. HVAC filtration like Black Hawk defense, resilience under pressure, sealing out toxins while fortifying the core. Panic spreads, but tattoo encourages. Therefore, she prepares for ordeal, but what twist awaits? She's on the edge. What saves her? The answer will inspire you. Watch now for the climax. The thundering roar of rotor blades sliced through the gymnasium's stifling air like a battlefield symphony, shaking the foundations and drawing every eye to the massive windows. Outside, under the darkening sky, two UH-60 Black Hawks descended in perfect tactical formation, their sleek black hulls cutting through the chemical haze like avenging shadows. The lead chopper touched down on the quad with precision, its downwash sending leaves and debris swirling in a vortex that battered the glass. Painted boldly on the side, visible even through the chaos, "Eagle." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Elara Kane's call sign, now a revelation exploding like a frag grenade. This wasn't a random rescue. It was targeted, her identity laid bare in the most dramatic fashion. The twist hit like a cyber payload. The campus chemical crisis was no accident, but bait, a sophisticated Russian hack designed to isolate and expose a diplomatic convoy linked to Elara's old mission in Afghanistan. The glitches, the false breaches, all misdirection to draw out vulnerabilities, turning a university lockdown into a geopolitical trap. General Harlan Brooks emerged from the lead helo, flanked by special ops personnel in full gear, his eyes locking on Elara through the window. "Captain Kane, Eagle, we need you now." Conflict surged as Elara was pulled into the fray, her world colliding in a maelstrom of past and present. Brooks briefed her swiftly. The convoy, carrying high-value assets from her final deployment, was pinned in hostile terrain. Rocky canyons laced with anti-air defenses, under siege from the same network that hacked the campus. "You're the only one who knows that route," he said, thrusting her into a flight suit. Elara piloted the extraction, strapping into the Blackhawk's cockpit, with hands that trembled only slightly. The helo lifted off, thundering toward the danger zone, a high-risk hover insert over treacherous peaks, rotor downwash concealing their approach as it whipped dust into blinding clouds. Enemy AA fire lit the night like tracers, forcing evasive maneuvers. "Bank left. Avoid the ridge," she commanded, her voice steady over the intercom. The terrain was a nightmare. Jagged cliffs and narrow passes that demanded split-second improvisation, like sword training drills amplified to lethal stakes. Externally, bullets pinged off the armor, the chopper shuddering under impacts. Internally, the real gut punch. Facing her old teammate Spy, revealed via intercepted comms as the betrayer from Afghanistan, not Marcus, as she'd suspected in a red herring of campus drama, but this former ally whose racism had whispered doubts, selling out for personal gain. "You?" Elara hissed over the radio as his position lit up on her HUD. "All because you couldn't stand a black woman in command?" The mini-climax built to a fever pitch amid the gunfire. As the convoy came into view, vehicles pinned, diplomats exposed, Elara's helo hovered precariously, ropes deploying for extraction. A missile streaked toward them. She yanked the stick, the bird tilting wildly. In the chaos, her flight suit tore at the shoulder, fully revealing the eagle tattoo, its wings spreading like a rebirth, glowing under the cockpit lights as if infused with Tuskegee fire. "Rebirth," she whispered, channeling the airman's unbreakable spirit. With improvised flair, she dropped flares to blind the AA guns, swooping low for the grab. Teammates hauled aboard amid satisfaction's roar. Overcoming external hackers and internal traitors, the convoy saved in a blaze of rotor fury. Extraction maneuver. Improvise like Tuskegee pilots, life skills for decisive life-death moments, adapting under fire to turn defeat into victory. Extraction succeeds, but Spy reveals. Therefore, she wins, but rode back full of surprises. The extraction under fire, heart-stopping. Stay for the victory and emotional payoff. The Blackhawks thundered back to elite Ridgewood under a canopy of stars, their rotors slowing to a triumphant hum as they settled on the quad. Elara Kane emerged from the cockpit, her flight suit scorched and torn, the eagle tattoo now fully exposed like a badge of rebirth, its inked wings catching the floodlights in a defiant glow. The campus, still locked down but buzzing with rumors of her exploits, fell silent as she stepped onto the grass. General Harlan Brooks approached first, his video commendation already queued on a secure tablet. "Eagle, you've honored Tuskegee tonight," his voice boomed through speakers rigged by allies. "Those red tails flew through segregation's fire. You've carried their flame, extracting that convoy against all odds." Cheers rippled from the gymnasium windows, where students and faculty pressed against the glass, campus regrets washing over them like a cleansing wave. Marcus Hale stood pale in the crowd, his arrogance shattered, eyes wide with the dawning horror of his misjudgments, his shadow eagle posts now backfiring in viral shame. The conflict lingered, not in external battles, but in Elara's quiet forgiveness. She faced Marcus directly, his apologies stumbling out. We had no idea." "You saw what you wanted to see," she replied softly, her voice carrying the weight of Tuskegee resilience. But the true struggle was internal, self-forgiving the trauma that had chained her for years. In a humanistic moment, she pulled out her final mother's letter, increased from countless readings. My eagle, the scars make you soar higher. Your grandfather flew for a world that didn't want him. Forgive yourself, as he forgave the skies. Tears welled as she absorbed it, the words dissolving the guilt of lost teammates, turning pain into purpose. A sweet emotional satisfaction that reduced the night's tension, like the calm after a helo's safe landing. The mini-climax soared with Tuskegee heritage recognized. Brooks unveiled archived photos on the tablet, Elara's grandfather among the Black Wubblewee 2 pilots who overcame segregation, proving equality in the legacy of red-tailed P-51s that defied Nazi skies and American prejudice. Historical education flowed. Those pilots shattered barriers, flying missions that saved lives while fighting dual wars against enemies abroad and discrimination at home. Their equality legacy lives in you, Eagle. Recognition comes, but leak still spreads. Therefore, roadback challenges await, with social media storms brewing. Her forgiveness changes everything. See the emotional payoff, but the final challenge awaits. The Blackhawks lifted off from the extraction site, their rotors fading into the distance like a receding storm, carrying the rescued convoy to safety. Elara Kane returned to Elite Ridgewood under the cloak of dawn, the helo depositing her on the quad amid a crowd of awestruck students and faculty emerging from the gymnasium. The air buzzed with whispers of her heroism, the pilot who turned crisis into triumph, her call sign Eagle, now a legend etched in their minds. General Brooks clasped her shoulder one last time. You've reclaimed your wings, Captain. For a fleeting moment, victory tasted sweet, the weight of trauma lifting like morning fog. But the road back was no smooth landing. It twisted into an unexpected challenge that struck harder than enemy fire. The twist hit like a digital ambush. Marcus Hale, still seething from his shattered ego, leaked the extraction video he'd covertly recorded during the chaos. Clips flooded social media under #FakeEagle, distorted footage of Elara in her flight suit, captioned campus hoax, black hero exposed as fraud, affirmative action gone wrong. The backlash spread like wildfire, hashtags trending beyond the university, viral threads dissecting her sudden skills with racist undertones, questioning her credentials as a diversity hire unfit for glory. Media outlets picked it up, reporters swarming the campus gates, turning her triumph into a spectacle of doubt. Elara's phone exploded with notifications, anonymous hate blending with misguided praise, the systemic outrage boiling over. Systemic doubt like Tuskegee, she muttered, echoing the airmen's erasure despite their valor. Conflict raged publicly as Elara struggled under the spotlight. Flash mobs of supporters clashed with detractors online, her dark skin and gender weaponized in comment sections. She got lucky. Real pilots don't look like that. The outrage peaked, audience hearts pounding at the injustice, mirroring the prejudice that had haunted her career. Elara wavered, tempted to vanish again, but allies like Dr. Torres rallied. Fight it. Show them Tuskegee resilience. In the mini-climax, she faced the media head-on in an impromptu press huddle on the quad, cameras flashing like muzzle flares. This isn't about me, she stated, voice steady, teasing a deeper resurrection. It's about rising above the noise. Public resilience like a military debrief, life skills against backlash, turning scrutiny into strength by analyzing, adapting, and advancing. Leak spreads, but heritage supports. Therefore, resurrection approaches, a final stand brewing. The backlash explodes. How does she win? Don't stop now. The ultimate triumph is here. The media frenzy on the Elite Ridgewood quad reached a boiling point, cameras flashing like suppressive fire as Elara Kane stood at the center, the leaked video's backlash swirling around her like a digital sandstorm. Hashtags like #FakeEagle trended nationwide, twisting her heroism into a narrative of fraud. Affirmative action pilot crashes and burns, one viral post sneered, amplifying the systemic racism that had dogged her from Afghanistan to academia. But Elara didn't flee. She built her response like a fortified position, calling an impromptu assembly under the quad's ancient oaks. With allies like Dr. Torres at her side and General Brooks beaming in via live feed, she publicly shared her Tuskegee heritage, the twist that reframed everything. My grandfather wasn't just a story, she began, her voice steady as a helo's hum. Unbeknownst to most, he was a hidden Tuskegee Airman, one of the unsung black pilots who trained in secrecy, overcoming World War II racism to fly P-51 Mustangs against the Luftwaffe while battling segregation at home. The surprise hit like a revelation. Not just a personal talisman, but a societal legacy. Proof that competence had always transcended color, even when history tried to erase it. Photos flashed on screens. Her grandfather in his red-tailed fighter, defying orders that deemed black men unfit for the skies. His quiet victories paving runways for generations. Conflict crested as Marcus Hale stepped forward, his face ashen under the spotlights, the weight of his leaks crushing his bravado. I'm sorry, he stammered publicly, voice cracking in the hush. I judged you by skin and status, not strength. We all did. The apology rippled outward, sparking campus-wide reckoning. Administrators, shamed by the viral storm, announced immediate policy changes. Mandatory anti-bias training infused with Tuskegee case studies, diversity audits for programs, and scholarships honoring overlooked heroes. Elara nodded, her forgiveness a bridge. But the real battle was the outrage against the system that enabled such doubt, mirroring the airmen's fight against institutional barriers. The mini-climax soared in a surge of justice. Intel from the extraction confirmed the old teammate spy's capture. Arrested en route to a Russian safe house, his betrayal exposed as the root of her Afghan crash, fueled by the same racism that whispered, "She doesn't belong." As cheers erupted, Elara resurrected as Eagle, peeling back her sleeve to fully display the tattoo, its wings unfolding like a phoenix from ashes, symbolizing rebirth from Prejudice's grave. Tuskegee lesson: equality in action, overcome prejudice with competence. Those pilots teaching us to fly through storms of doubt with unyielding skill. Victory. But legacy passes on. Therefore, elixir for society, a blueprint for change. The final revelation, inspiring. Share if this moves you. The ending will leave you empowered. As the dust settled from the revelations and arrests, Elara Kane's journey circled back to elite Ridgewood. Not as a quiet student in the shadows, but as a beacon of unyielding strength. Months later, under a clear spring sky, she graduated with honors, her cap and gown a stark contrast to the flight suit that had defined her rebirth. The ceremony buzzed with a transformed energy, the campus forever changed by her saga. In a packed auditorium for her guest lecture, Elara stood tall, her eagle tattoo now a proud emblem peeking from her sleeve. "Eagles rise above storms," she declared, her voice resonating like a command over the radio. Competence transcends color and gender. It's forged in the fire of doubt, tempered by discipline, and lifted by heritage. The audience leaned in, riveted, as she wove her story with Tuskegee's legacy, turning personal triumph into a universal call to action. Outside, the university had erected a Tuskegee-inspired statue, a bronze eagle mid-flight, inscribed with her grandfather's name, symbolizing the unseen battles won by those overlooked. Elara took on mentoring new black women in the program, guiding them through simulations with the same precision she'd used in Black Hawk Ops, ensuring the legacy continued, an aftertaste of enduring hope in every session. The humanistic message crystallized in her words: overcome prejudice with resilience, military discipline and heritage, a lesson for future generations. We don't break under the weight, we build wings from it. It was a summary that echoed through hearts, reminding all that true victory lay not in vengeance, but in transformation, turning scars into stories that healed divides. For the final education she drew from the skies. Black Hawk tactics teach life. Improvise when plans shatter, adapt to the terrain of bias, overcome the flak of doubt. Apply these to daily equality, where every challenge is a chance to soar. What's your eagle story? Comment below about overcoming bias, subscribe for more tales of triumph over adversity, and share this to inspire others. Honor the unseen eagles among us. The eagle doesn't fight the storm, it rises above it.